would you give me a hand with the bags?
Certainly. You take the blonde and I'll take the one in the tavern.
Stop that.
Most fans think they've seen every hidden joke in Young Frankenstein, but one behind-the-scenes photo has stunned even lifelong experts. At first glance, it looks like a normal blooper shot. Look closer and you'll realize nothing about it is normal.
I am a scientist, not a philosopher. You have more chance of reanimating this scalpel than you have of mending a broken nervous system.
Gene Wilder is frozen in a moment of explosive laughter. Marty Feldman's posture looks impossible, and the chaos around them seems unreal.
Frederick, if only there was some way I could relieve this torture you are going through. If there was some way I could help you to relax. If only I could give you a little peace.
People swore the picture had to be edited. It wasn't. The truth behind it is even crazier. A set on the edge of chaos. The filming of Young Frankenstein opened with scenes that looked more like the start of a disaster than the making of a comedy. Actors broke character during moments that were supposed to be serious. Crew members tried to stay calm, but even they lost control when the chaos grew too wild. Doors jammed when they were supposed to stay open. A door flew shut when Gene Wilder tried to close it with confidence. Props toppled over without warning. It looked like the entire set had a mind of its own. Gene Wilder tried to hold his emotions together during these moments, but his face told the truth. The corners of his mouth trembled whenever something unexpected happened. His eyes widened when another mistake popped up out of nowhere. Marty Feldman made everything even harder. Sometimes he caused trouble by accident. Other times he did it because he enjoyed stirring things up. He moved in strange and surprising ways. He threw in tiny expressions that made the cast lose control. He understood that the unexpected was often funnier than anything written in a script. The results were moments that felt alive and impossible to repeat. The entire set lived inside this kind of energy. Laughter filled the space again and again. It happened during rehearsals and during real takes. Mel Brooks welcomed this feeling. He pushed for it. He believed that comedy needed freedom. He encouraged the actors to experiment with lines, voices, and reactions. None of the performers were rigid. Every single one of them loved taking risks. This created a set where the unexpected became the normal pattern of work. During this unpredictable atmosphere, something unbelievable happened. A single photograph was taken. It looked too perfect to be real. Many people later argued about it. Some said the photo had been edited. Others said it had to be staged. There was no way a moment like that could happen naturally. But it did. It came from a moment of real fear and real laughter. It showed expressions so intense that people questioned the truth of the image. The photo was not edited in any way. It was captured during a moment when everything seemed to collapse at the same time. The circumstances behind it are stranger than the image itself. Can you spot what triggered this unforgettable moment? That question followed the photo as well. The answer is complicated. It begins with the nature of the set. Young Frankenstein was not shaped by careful planning. It was shaped by real accidents that were kept inside the movie. It was shaped by genuine reactions from actors who had no way to hide the truth on their faces. To understand how one unedited photo managed to capture the most explosive moment on set, we need to go back to the early choices that made Young Frankenstein unlike any comedy ever filmed. A monster is reborn. Before the first real scene of Young Frankenstein was ever filmed, the crew already understood that this project would not behave like an ordinary production. The set did not feel modern or controlled. It felt like something brought back from another time, and that strange energy shaped everything that followed. Gene Wilder and Mel Brooks wrote the script as a tribute to the old Universal horror films, and they committed to that idea with complete seriousness. They wanted the audience to feel as if they were stepping into the world of the 1930s. They wanted the comedy to live inside a space that looked completely authentic, so the humor would strike harder when it arrived.
Are you ready?
Yes, Doctor.
Elevate me.
Now? Right here?
Yes, yes.
The first major step toward this goal came from Mel Brooks himself. He insisted that the movie be filmed in black and white. This created immediate problems. Studio executives believed that black and white belonged to the past. They thought it would hurt the film and confuse younger viewers. Mel refused to change his mind. He said the movie would not work in color. He said the jokes would fall flat if the world around them looked modern. After many discussions, the studio finally surrendered. When the first black and white test footage played on the monitors, the cast understood that Mel had been right. The image did not look like 1974. It looked like a lost Universal film that had suddenly reappeared. The production team went even further to strengthen this illusion. They tracked down real equipment used in the 1931 Frankenstein film. These pieces were old, unstable, and difficult to operate. When the cast first walked onto the completed laboratory set, they felt a rush of excitement. They also felt a small amount of fear. Large coils buzzed with uneven sounds. Metal switches clicked without being touched. Spark generators fired suddenly when the crew tested them. The machines were so old that the crew sometimes stepped back out of caution. They did not fully trust the equipment, which made the set feel alive in a way no one expected. The lighting heightened this feeling. Strong white lights created sharp shadows on every wall. The darkness between those shadows felt heavy. The castle rooms looked cold and unforgiving. The Gothic arches made the environment seem enormous. This dramatic lighting was not only for show, it forced the actors to adjust their performances. The serious look of the set demanded equally serious expressions, at least until the comedy broke through. The contrast made the funny moments stronger, but it also raised the pressure on the cast. They had to shift between tension and playfulness in a matter of seconds. Even with the dramatic scenery, the cast did not behave in a dramatic way behind the cameras. They arrived on set with a playful attitude. They warmed up by joking with each other. They tested different voices for their characters. Marty Feldman made faces that were impossible to predict. Gene Wilder often lost control when he saw them. Madeline Kahn brought a sharp sense of humor that lifted the entire room. Peter Boyle explored his character through heavy but surprising movements. They treated the set like a creative playground rather than a strict film location. Mel Brooks encouraged this atmosphere. He told the actors that accidents were not problems. He told them that mistakes often created better comedy than the script itself. He gave them the freedom to explore, even during rehearsals. This created an environment where the cast never felt afraid to try something new. However, it also meant that no one could predict what would happen once the cameras rolled. The combination of serious visuals and playful energy created the perfect foundation for chaos. Everyone felt it building, even in the early days. And once the cameras rolled, that creative freedom exploded into pure, unpredictable madness, starting with the moment Marty Feldman went completely off script. Improvisation turns to anarchy. The first sign that the actors were about to unleash complete anarchy came during what was meant to be a simple arrival scene. Gene Wilder, in character as Dr. Frederick Frankenstein, politely asked Igor to help carry the luggage. Igor, played by Marty Feldman, is the strange and sharp-eyed servant who assists Frankenstein. The scene was designed to introduce the group as they approached the castle with their suitcases. Inga, played by Terry Garr, stood beside them as the blonde assistant who had joined Frankenstein on his journey. Nothing unusual was supposed to happen. It was meant to be a quiet moment that showed the three of them arriving together before entering the castle. But Marty Feldman had no interest in keeping the moment calm. Right after Wilder said, "Would you help me with the luggage?"
Would you give me a hand with the bags?
Feldman looked at him with a mischievous expression and delivered a line that had never been written.
You take the blonde and I'll take the one in the turban.
He said, "You take the blonde and I will take the one in the turban." This line made no sense at all because there were only suitcases in front of them and there was no second woman in a turban anywhere in the scene. Feldman made a normal request about carrying bags into a bizarre comment that sounded as if Wilder had asked him to choose between two women instead of helping with luggage. The absurdity of it exploded through the entire cast. The entire set froze. Terry Garr pressed her lips together so tightly that her face turned red. She tried to hold back laughter but failed. Gene Wilder felt his mouth twitch at the edges. His eyes filled with tension as he tried to keep his expression straight. Even the crew struggled behind the camera. Some covered their mouths. Others looked at the floor. Mel Brooks called for another take. Feldman did the same thing again, but this time he adjusted his voice slightly.
Igor, would you help me with these bags?
Certainly. You take the blonde and I'll take the one in the taven.
It became even funnier. Wilder's body locked up as he tried to hold his breath to stay in character. Terry Garr shook from silent laughter. Mel tried again. Feldman repeated it in a new way. He clearly enjoyed the chaos he was creating. After several attempts, Mel Brooks gave up on controlling the moment. He accepted that Feldman had won. The line stayed in the film. It later became one of the most quoted lines in Young Frankenstein, all because of a moment that was never planned. The chaos did not stop there. During the sedative scene, Dr. Frankenstein is supposed to calm the monster by ordering Igor to give him a sedative. The moment depends on sharp timing and clear delivery because the monster is violent and the situation is tense. Feldman was supposed to respond with the word sedative. Instead, he mispronounced it and said sedative in a strange and confused tone.
Sedative! Give him a sedative!
The unexpected slip changed the entire rhythm of the scene. Wilder snapped his head toward Feldman with wide eyes the moment he heard it. His whole body tensed as he tried to stay serious. He failed again and again. Every time he attempted to speak, laughter forced its way out of him. Crew members behind the camera tried to hide their reactions, but several giggled anyway. The more they tried to stay quiet, the harder it became. The mistake was so funny and so natural that Mel Brooks decided to keep the mispronounced line in the final film because it captured the real energy of the moment. Then came the fur incident. Madeline Kahn wore a thick fur wrap during one of her scenes. Marty Feldman leaned toward it and pretended to take a bite. His teeth accidentally caught loose bits of the fur. They stuck in his mouth. He tried to spit them out with dramatic expressions. Madeline Kahn saw his reaction and immediately lost her composure. The crew collapsed with laughter. Every attempt to redo the scene fell apart. Feldman could not keep a straight face. Kahn struggled to speak through her laughter. The more they tried, the worse it became. Mel Brooks finally accepted that this moment, which no one planned, was funnier and more honest than anything written. He kept the imperfect reactions because the natural chaos captured the exact spirit he wanted in the film. Even a simple hay wagon scene refused to behave. The moment was supposed to show Inga riding beside Dr. Frankenstein as the wagon moved across the countryside. It was a calm scene that only needed a gentle delivery and a natural smile. Nothing dramatic was written into it. As the camera rolled, Terry Garr stepped down from the wagon and slipped in the hay. The timing was so perfect that it looked intentional, yet it was completely unplanned. Her fall added a burst of charm and vulnerability to her character that no script could have created. The crew laughed in surprise because the slip looked believable and innocent rather than messy. Mel Brooks chose to keep it because it felt real and honest, and it strengthened the playful personality that Inga brought to the film. But nothing the actors did, no improvised line, no costume disaster, and no broken character could compete with the moment the set itself fought back. And that is when the photo was taken. The photo that was never edited. The most unforgettable moment on the set of Young Frankenstein took place in the laboratory, where the cast worked with machines that were older than anyone in the room. The lab elevator was one of the most unpredictable pieces of equipment. It had been built to move smoothly for dramatic effect, but it depended on old mechanisms that did not always cooperate. Much of the equipment came from the original 1931 Frankenstein film, and the years had taken a toll on it. The crew handled these machines with caution because no one fully trusted them. By the time the cast reached the elevator scene, they were already exhausted from non-stop improvisation and repeated takes that had fallen apart earlier in the day. They were tired, wired, and completely unprepared for what was about to happen. The elevator mishap began the moment the platform rose into the air. It was supposed to lift the characters in a steady, controlled motion. Instead, it jerked to one side and wobbled violently. The sudden movement sent a shockwave through everyone standing on it. The danger was real and immediate. Terry Garr, who was in character as Inga, screamed from genuine fear. Her reaction was not planned or performed. It came straight from the instinct of someone who felt the floor shift under her feet. The crew behind the cameras gasped as the structure continued to shake. They could see the tension in the cables and the uneven pull of the machinery. Gene Wilder and Marty Feldman stayed in character because they did not know what else to do. Wilder's face twisted into a mixture of panic and forced control. Feldman reacted with wide, exaggerated movements that made the scene even more chaotic. Both men grabbed onto whatever they could to stay balanced. The wobbling elevator forced every actor on it to fight for stability. The tension of the moment mixed with the absurdity of their expressions. It created a scene that was both frightening and unexpectedly funny. Then something extraordinary happened. The elevator surged again, and Gene Wilder broke into uncontrollable laughter. It came out of him with no warning. Tears formed in his eyes as he bent forward, unable to stop. His entire body reacted to the shock of the moment. Marty Feldman looked at him with an expression that was as wild and surprising as the elevator's movements. Someone off camera captured a photograph at that exact second. Nothing in the image was posed or prepared. There were no retakes and no adjustments. The photo showed Wilder laughing with complete abandon while Feldman stood beside him with a chaotic expression of his own. It was real, it was raw, it was unedited. People later questioned the authenticity of the picture. Some believed it had been staged because Wilder's expression looked impossible. Others thought the lighting made the image appear too dramatic. A slight blur suggested motion, which led people to believe the moment had been altered. The exact timing of the shot seemed too perfect to be real. The moment mattered because it captured everything that made Young Frankenstein special. The comedy came from real reactions. The funniest moments grew out of real accidents. The magic of the film lived inside events that no one could plan. But the elevator mishap and the now famous unedited photo were not the strangest things that happened on set. The real madness was only beginning. The set loses control. The first sign came from Marty Feldman, who never missed an opportunity to surprise the cast. He played Igor with a prosthetic hump attached to his back. The hump was supposed to stay in the same place throughout the film. But Feldman noticed that it could be moved without much effort. He began to shift it from one shoulder to the other when no one was looking. At first, no one noticed the change. Scenes were filmed quickly and the cast was focused on their lines. The hump moved silently from one position to another until Gene Wilder caught a glimpse of it. His eyes widened as he tried to understand what he was seeing. During a later scene, he finally addressed it. With complete seriousness, he asked, "Didn't you used to have that on the other side?" Feldman did not hesitate. He replied with a calm expression and said, "What hump?"
What hump?
The entire crew burst into laughter. The moment was not planned, and Feldman's delivery made it even funnier. Mel Brooks immediately recognized the value of the exchange and kept it in the film. Feldman continued moving the hump throughout the rest of production, transforming a small prank into a legendary running joke. Feldman struck again during a scene that was meant to feel eerie. Without warning, he howled like a wolf. It came from nowhere and had no connection to the script. The sound shocked the cast at first. Each retake became even more ridiculous because Feldman kept changing the pitch and length of the howl. Some sounded dramatic, others sounded confused or high-pitched. The unpredictability of each howl made the cast and crew break into laughter. What should have been a frightening sequence turned into an improvised comedy routine. The chaos continued in the laboratory when Peter Boyle, who played the monster, face the heat of the stage lights. He wore a tight wig that looked realistic under the harsh lighting. During one scene, the heat caused the wig to slip down his forehead. Boyle did not stop the take. He continued acting as if nothing had happened. The other actors noticed the slip and reacted naturally. The unexpected change in appearance made the moment even funnier because it looked like the monster was melting under pressure. Mel Brooks believed the accident captured the energy of the scene better than a perfect take, so he kept it in the film. Terry Garr added her own surprising moment during a laboratory sequence. While surrounded by buzzing machines and shaking props, she suddenly asked,
Exactly how fast is the speed of light?
"How fast is the speed of light?" The line was not in the script. She delivered it with perfect timing, creating a pause that made Marty Feldman break. His face twisted in shock because he had no idea what she would say next. Her timing and tone made the entire moment feel spontaneous and real. The old equipment from the 1931 Frankenstein film continued to cause problems. Sparks fired unexpectedly. Metal instruments rattled without warning. Strange clanging noises came from devices that no one touched. The actors had no choice but to improvise through these technical surprises. They reacted in character when the machines misbehaved, which made the scenes feel alive and unpredictable. And if that was not enough, the chaos found a new home in the dining room. Dinner table destruction. The dining room scenes in Young Frankenstein were supposed to bring calm into the story, but the set refused to behave. The trouble began with a candlestick that never stayed the same between takes. During filming, different crew members adjusted the table to reset props for each new shot. Some crew members relit the candle. Others blew it out because they thought the flame was too bright for the camera. Sometimes the candlestick was moved a few inches to make room for a microphone or a plate. No one realized how noticeable these small adjustments would be on screen. As a result, the candle burned brightly in one take, then appeared completely out in the next, and then returned with a different flame or a different position only moments later. The actors saw these changes happening, but once the cameras rolled, they could not stop the scene to fix every mistake. They had to keep acting as if nothing unusual was happening. The shifting candle became a tiny but unforgettable mystery that viewers later spotted on their own. What should have been an ordinary table decoration turned into an accidental joke because the constant repositioning made the entire dining room feel as if it had a mind of its own. The problems did not end there. Coffee cups began to disappear and reappear between takes. Sometimes a cup sat in front of an actor in one shot. In the next shot, it vanished completely. Moments later, the cup returned as if it had been there the whole time. These changes forced the cast to continue acting even when the objects around them moved without warning. They could not stop the scene every time something changed, so they pushed forward and trusted that Mel Brooks would find humor in the mistakes. He did. Audiences later noticed these errors and appreciated them because they made the dining room feel like a place where nothing followed the rules. Peter Boyle added to the chaos when he played the monster during a table scene. At one point, he stood up too quickly. His sudden movement knocked over several items on the table. Plates, cups, and silverware crashed and slid in every direction. Gene Wilder reacted in real time. His eyes widened as if the moment had been planned. He raised his hands slightly and leaned back with an expression that captured the exact mix of fear and surprise that the scene needed. Mel Brooks loved the authenticity of the moment. The crew laughed because the destruction matched the unpredictable spirit of the entire film. Brooks kept the messy take because it felt honest and alive. Even small wardrobe moments turned into scenes of chaos. During one take, Terry Garr's wig slipped out of place. The heat of the lights and the movement of the scene caused the wig to tilt and reveal more of her forehead than intended. The crew rushed in between takes to adjust it, but each attempt created new imperfections. Garr handled the situation with patience and humor. She delivered her lines naturally, even while trying to keep the wig steady. Mel Brooks appreciated the real reactions that came from these slips. He used the imperfect shots because they added personality and a sense of real human presence. By the time Young Frankenstein reached theaters, no one outside the production understood what had truly gone into it. The studio expected a small parody with limited appeal, not a cultural phenomenon. The film cost only a few $1,000,000, yet it earned $86 million and stunned the executives who once questioned the black and white choice. Audiences did not just watch it. They felt it. They sensed something different in every scene, even if they could not explain why. That difference came from Mel Brooks's belief that comedy should not be polished to death. Instead of correcting accidents, he shaped the film around them. And what should have been flaws became the film's personality. What do you think about this movie? Kindly subscribe to the channel for more incredible videos. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.